is being reported from Ghaziabad. 3 teen sisters jumped to death from high-rise, jumped from the 9th floor of the high-rise. Korean love game turns deadly.
When tragic events like this occur, society rushes toward a single villain: the game, the phone, the internet. But reality is almost never that simple. Death by suicide, especially among adolescents, is rarely caused by one factor. It usually emerges from a psychological ecosystem: vulnerability, identity confusion, emotional isolation, developmental immaturity, sometimes a powerful shared belief system. Let's look at some of the factors here to understand what could have happened. Number one, task-based games can create what psychologists call progressive commitment, which means small actions that slowly normalize risk. So each completed task shifts the brain's boundary of what feels acceptable. The young teenage brain is uniquely sensitive to this pattern. The thinking part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for judgment and long-term consequences, it's still under construction, while the emotional and reward systems are highly active. In very simple terms, car's accelerator works beautifully, but the brakes are still being installed. Number two, let's understand group psychology. These sisters reportedly functioned almost as a unit, eating, sleeping, and spending most of their time together. In tightly bonded groups, a phenomenon called emotional contagion can occur. One belief spreads rapidly, doubt becomes harder, and the group reality begins to feel unquestionable. It stops being, should we do this? Is this right? It becomes, we are doing this. Number three factor we could be looking at is identity experimentation. Early adolescence is laboratory of the self. Young people try on identities the way one tries on clothes. Some reports indicate the girls had begun imagining themselves within a Korean identity linked to the game. Now, this is not pathology by itself. Imagination is developmentally normal. But when fantasy starts replacing grounded reality, supervision and emotional anchoring becomes critical. What this tragedy is not. It is not evidence that all gaming is dangerous. It is not proof that strict control alone prevents risk. It is not helpful to assign blame to grieving families. That kind of binary thinking temporarily comforts us but prevents learning. What this tragedy does signal, it signals the urgent need for digital attunement regulation, not just digital restriction. Parents often monitor screen time. Far fewer people monitor emotional time. Who's your child becoming online? What stories are they living inside? What feels real to them? Children do not only need surveillance like a cop, they need psychological translation. The quiet warning signs adults often miss, not dramatic rebellion but narrowing worlds. When a child's life shrinks to a single activity, when peer interaction drops, when identity becomes very rigid, when secrecy increases, these are not phases to dismiss. These are invitations for the adults to lean in closer to understand the kids. A message to all the parents and caregivers: don't aim to be detectives, aim to be interpreters. Curiosity protects better than control. Instead of give me your phone, try show me what you love about this. Connection is the oldest protective factor we know that can prevent,